Hello, my name is Ace from ESS. Today with another behind the screens episode with one of the biggest EAS creators in the community. Definitely one of, I know, so many people's biggest inspirations when it comes to creating scenarios. I'm here with ElectricFanatic today.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah. Anything you want to say before I get started? You want to introduce
Um,
yourself or...
I guess I'll start with a quick introduction. Hi, I'm Eltic, and I'm the guy who runs the Electric Fanatic channel. I make all the content. I write, I edit, all that stuff. So thanks for having me on here,
Yeah.
and let's get started.
Okay, yes. So, when did you start creating EAS content?
2019. I've been aware of the weird community, the weird little
The
space of
niche.
YouTube. The niche of EAS, that's EAS content on YouTube for a while. But I started uploading it in 2019 because I had a little binge, and that like really motivated me, pushed me to start uploading scenarios, the original what I call golden series scenarios, because that's
Right.
what initially pushed my channel uh, into the community.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah,
All right. Good. So what made you start creating EAS content? Was there a particular like event in your life, or was it just like you stumbled upon it? Like, what was it?
I my initial like interest in the EAS started in EAS content
Hmm.
started in 2015 when I witnessed one, and I think I looked it up and I kind of fell into the rabbit hole of watching those mock
Right.
colors, and that was that I don't know, I guess like kind of set off a spark, and I got into it again several times, but I think it's just like the scare that it brings. It's like the connotations
Right.
of each alert. If done right, you feel like you're actually experiencing the situation, and you're just watching it through your television, and that's
Right. And that's
really
scary.
fascinating. Yeah, it is, especially if the event is something big. But yeah.
And something I was gonna actually say in the well, no, wait. I guess it does pertain to this one. Um, I guess that's where like channels like you and Harvester kind of are a bit different from maybe what I consider to be the more traditional EIS scenario creators nowadays, where it's like you guys, and like this isn't a bad thing. Like obviously y'all are doing your own thing. It's just like y'all, I think, still focus more on the scares. I know some other people focus more on like longer form storytelling. It's honestly, it's really interesting to see it branch off in so many directions.
Yeah, but who knew that like a genre based off of an alert system could go so far
Like it
into
has subgenres now. You have
yeah,
like the little analog horror mix-ins. You have like
yeah.
narrative-based scenarios. You have just mocks like that are just trying to
Oh,
be realistic. It's you
yeah.
have people making entire like long form series out of it, like and people like
Hmm.
IX doing stuff.
Hmm.
It's
I
crazy.
think I think it's like kind of the genre itself. It's like sort of an offshoot of analog horror. Although I think I mean, it's I guess my particular subgenre with
Yeah.
art and stuff.
Hmm.
That's more connected to the analog horror part. Um, but I think just the scare element that ties into it.
See, it's interesting because I definitely think analog horror is bringing in and blending in an interesting way with EAS content, and it has been for the
Mhm.
past couple of years. But technically, EAS stuff predates analog horror by quite a bit, or like in its
Yeah,
mainstream relevance,
yeah.
like by at least like half a decade, if not more.
Mhm. I
So
think because oh yeah, I think because it's like local 58. That's when it kind of became more
yeah,
attached.
that's honestly, I think Local 58, definitely right there, perfect definition of that was the point where analog horror was created, like that right
Yeah,
there.
I mean
Or like the
it
general
was
concept of it.
yeah, it's when it was popularized,
Right.
and then and even more with the Mandela catalog in more recent years.
Yeah. All right. Do you remember any like significant community events from? I guess preferably maybe earlier on, but I mean it could be anything. Like just
Uh,
anything you remember.
like just in the community.
It could pertain to YouTube too. Like if there was any like major conflict or something or major thing of note on YouTube happening, that's fine too.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to 2019 because I mean a lot of stuff has obviously happened in the EAS community for like the 4 years I've been in it.
Mm-hmm.
But the first major thing I remember was probably SST EAS, which and that was I think that was the
Hey, I
first
can't hear
major
you.
thing that I witnessed. Yeah, I'll repeat it. The first major thing I witnessed, if I recall correctly, was SST EAS and that whole situation. I was on a school trip at the time, and so I like while it was actually happening when it started, I wasn't.
Alright, sorry, we had a bit of a technical problem there. I keep not being able to hear Eltic. I hope that stops. But basically what I was asking is, do you remember any significant community events, whether it be on YouTube or off YouTube?
Yeah, like I was saying before I got cut off, the SST EAS situation, I think, if I recall correctly, was the first thing I actually witnessed in the community. I was on a school trip when it actually unfolded, so I didn't witness it like live. But once I got back, my phone like was blowing up with notifications, and I learned that happened, and that was unexpected. Like, and I, yeah, that was a wild thing, and then it transpired to a whole bunch of other things, and it was like he faked his death, and now he's in jail. So that was
That's
that
crazy.
Was
That's crazy. Alright, so, I guess this question's a little bit redundant because I've kind of been around for as long as you have, like just a little longer, maybe one more year, but what was the community like during your main run as a content creator? I mean, I guess you're still kind of on your main run, but, you know.
Yeah, I get, during my main run, I mean, like, throughout all the time I've been here?
Yeah, like, or I guess, like, where you consider your biggest period of success and creativity was. Like, what was the community like, and, like, who were the people that were kind of, I guess, relevant, to put it bluntly, at the time?
Yeah. I mean, I've had two kind of periods like that. One was the initial rise in 2019, and then 2 years later, around the same exact time in the year. The first time, I mean, because the community evolved a lot in between those 2 years. In 2019, I think the standard was like, that stereotypical like Noah radio screen. Yeah, exactly, with the incorrect fonts. And then over those 2 years, I think the standard for like realism evolved by like a tenfold or even more than.
Yeah.
And also, like the dynamics shifted. Things were, new things were coming into place. Like it was no longer about like weather scenarios. Like people were using these more obscure and creative concepts, and they were doing quite well with it.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that. It's been really interesting watching that. It's kind of been it's been like looking back at it now over the past like 3 years, like 2020 through 2023. There like a lot happened that I didn't really like notice. Like so many major videos came out and stuff that I still haven't watched. It's crazy.
Right. I think 2021 was the big evolution year for the community. I think 2020 it kind of died off a little, but then in 2021 we saw the rise of new creators and new types of scenarios.
Yeah, that was definitely my year.
Yeah.
So yeah. So when was your peak so far? Because I would be shocked if you didn't reach a new peak in the future. But like so far around when, like, what time frame was your peak? Like,
I guess my peak, like.
Well, actually, when I say peak, I don't mean like. I guess. Well.
I mean, I get what you mean. Like, a high point.
Yeah, high point. I guess in terms of success and like your quality of work around the time too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in 2021 in the summer, like that summer, I think that's when like what people viewed the quality of my content. Like I think the standard for my content's quality evolved a lot, and my sub count exploded and view count and everything. And it's kind of had like its dips and peaks along the way until now. But I'd say in terms of like an actual like high point, that was probably like the last major one I can think of. Because after that, there wasn't really anything major content-wise. Maybe Liminality, but after that.
I mean, hey, look, you can't sell Liminality short, dude. Like,
yeah, no.
That was a huge thing. But also,
very.
I genuinely think it's like, it's the most recent that I can think of. Like, that's the new classic scenario that people always talk about, that almost everyone says, holy shit, Liminality is so good. And it did come out really good. And I'm very glad that I was able to be a part of it. It was
I'm really glad people like it. I spent, I think as you know, months making, like, creating the concept, executing it, planning it, and then, like, fine-tuning it along the way. That was a very long process. Yeah. I took a few breaks in between, but it's still very, like, an arduous process, but I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, and then there was the whole build-up to releasing it, where you're, like, stressing, like, oh god, I hope this actually does good.
Yeah.
So, now I'll ask a few more questions about, like, what you enjoy in EAS stuff. So, what is your favorite EAS scenario that someone else has made?
Someone else's made. I can't think of one right off the top of my head. EF6, it's an older scenario, but it's a classic, and it was definitely like an inspiration to me, because when I watched it, it was just like fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, and he did a perfect job of like capturing the news stations, even though they were like with text to speech voices. Like the sheer gravity of the situation, you could feel what was going on.
Yeah.
And that was like, holy shit.
The use, I think that's the best way I've ever described it, is that the reason EF6 feels so real is that you can sense that there's like a feeling of like, oh god, around it. Like, you're like, this is bad. There's gravity to it. It, like I said, well, actually I didn't, it reminds me a lot of your short, honestly. I think that's what made it so scary, is that it does a good job at putting you in the shoes and saying, oh god, something's coming. Like, you feel like something's coming.
Yeah, like the feeling of impending doom.
Yeah.
It's like also like it takes a really generic, overused concept,
done right,
and then kind of expands on it.
Yeah.
And it makes it like actually like believable. Like, holy shit, like this monster tornado is about to like swallow the entire city. And it does.
Yeah. So, like, in a general sense, I guess consider this like subgenres. What are your favorite types of EAS scenarios? Or like, so like what topics maybe, or just general?
What topics? The more obscure concepts, if done right, can be amazing. As we've seen from like Hard or IBN, those types of people, those scenarios are because they're so outlandish, but the people that do it right make it very believable,
right?
And it kind of gives you a whole bunch of ideas, and it's like the innovation and creativity from this stuff that makes it my quote unquote favorite.
So, who is your favorite EAS creator aside from yourself?
Right, and I've lost something.
That's a good question. If I had to say, maybe Harv or Diamond. That's Harv is obviously Harv. He's like him and I joke around all the time about like hating each other and being like rivals, but ultimately I gotta give it to him. He makes like excellent content, and there's a reason he is where he is right now.
Oh yeah, but there's also a reason you are where you are. Like, you're still in the same ballpark,
Oh yeah. And then Diamond, I think, is a severely underrated person. He's a really underrated person and creator in the community. He has like a very innovative concepts, and he does them perfectly. Like his visuals have evolved so much since 2021, and his storytelling I think is really good. And he can also like capture like feelings and pending doom pretty well.
If there's someone that's kind of sitting in that bit of a limbo space right now between small creator and big creator that I foresee like getting popular, more popular. It is Diamond.
Yes, I would agree.
Because like literally, I open YouTube and like I'm stunned. I'm looking at how my scenario is doing, and I'm like, and again, this is nothing towards Diamond. I was just for the sake of example. I was looking at my scenario. I'm like, oh, it's been like a week and a half. It's got 6.2K. Nice. And then I see Diamond's last scenario has like 17K in a month. I'm like, damn. Like, go, dude. That's really good. So,
if anyone's a potential breakout creator, I think it's.
See, but what would be really interesting to see is where, like, if Diamond got that spike, where would he end up landing? Is that, like, would it end up reaching a point like you or Harv, or would it be more like hanging around like me, Radio, Hermitage, like that kind of, like 10 to 20K range-ish?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, in the end, numbers don't really, like, matter too much, but it is in my opinion, an interesting way to look at things.
Yeah. To get like really insane numbers in this community, like, or just in general on YouTube, you need like a mix of like good content and luck. And in a way, it's strategic. In a way, it's also just a chance.
Definitely.
So there's no way to tell where he's going to go. But I would not be shocked if he ended up having like a major spike in the future.
Me too. So, what is your favorite EAS or analog horror, like whatever project that you've made so far? Like like which one did you have the most fun with, and I guess which one you're the most proud of? Too?
Liminality, by far. I think that's because it was just like the concept was like a brainchild of mine, and liminal spaces I became like enthralled with, and so this was a nice way of like conveying that interest in the concept. So basically, I was like kind of out and about for a brief period of time, taking pictures of like goofy looking places that's completely empty, and then just somehow incorporate the video. So it enabled me to kind of get out and about and like think of different ways to execute it.
Right. And honestly, I think Liminality came at such a perfect time because now you see in 2022 and 2023, people like channels like Alpha Oxtron and stuff are starting to do videos on liminal spaces, and it's starting to become even more and more mainstream.
Right. And the backrooms. Yep,
and the backrooms. And I think, personally, I see Liminality being a video that long-term probably will end up becoming one of the most viewed in the community. Like, right up there with, like, EF6 and, well, I guess also Awakening. Awakening has, like, 1.1 million, right?
Yeah, 1.3. It kind of rose a bit again at the end of last year.
Oh, that's cool.
So enabled us to get, like, reach that level, which I'm very proud of.
You should be. That's awesome. Yeah. Do you have any EAS scenario projects you've made that you aren't, like, very proud of? Like, that you just kind of would, like, you kind of look at it and you're just like, damn, that kind of sucks. Or
I'd say some of my the bulk of them come from 2019. Engulfed, maybe as an example. There are scenarios I did in 2021 and that in the first half of that I wish I would have done more. Namely, Eclipse and SCP Revolution. Eclipse more so. The concepts I think are interesting. Mm-hmm. But I kind of, in some ways, kind of half-assed them and rushed them, so they ended up not being as good as they could have been.
Right. So, well, let me ask. I'll just put this in between. What about IntelliStorm?
IntelliStorm. Sorry, if you're hearing any background noise, it's because I'm in an airport. It's very loud. IntelliStorm. If I had actually finished that in 2019 and had it not been like deleted, it would have been like a. I'm not sure how it would have turned out quality wise, but I did have a lot of fun making it because it sort of delved away from just like the weather theme and kind of it was almost like a short like a short film. You know, there was like a conspiracy element of it, kind of like bringing all the elements of different EAS scenarios together and then kind of like executing it as one. And that was really fun to make. It's a shame it got deleted, but I might have an old copy of it somewhere, so I might try and find it.
Yeah, please do. And if you'd want to, I would love to possibly work into reforming it into something new. I think that could be a lot of fun.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so if you could choose with anyone who has previously made scenarios or anyone that still does scenarios, who would you, like, what would be your dream collaboration to be a part of?
This might be a bit of a controversial say, but Hermitage.
Honestly, yeah.
Because, I mean, I think Mark is certainly not the best visually, and I mean no offense by that.
Yeah, no.
His earlier scenarios were, like, my main inspiration for making EAS content. Like, stuff like Total Nightmare, At the End of the World, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what pushed me to start uploading. Because, you know, it was just, like, the black screen. But somehow his ideas and, like, I guess he just made it super terrifying and like it's immersing, it's like engaging, and I love it. Yeah. So it's like I would wonder what kind of ideas he would bring to the table because I think that's where he excelled, or at least excelled in like 2018.
Right. That's something I've been noticing and taking a lot of inspiration from recently with like my scenarios is that I don't really worry as much about, like, how long the topic will end up playing out for or whatever. I'm just like, alright, if I have an interesting idea, I make it. And, like, that, I feel like is what Hermitage did. And yeah, sure, some hit, some miss. But, in my opinion, it's just nice having all those ideas come to life. It's just a lot of fun.
It is.
Yeah. It is. So, now, what creators, like, if you could pick 2, or more if you want, like, creators to collaborate, like, watch them do something, what would you, like, who would you pick? Who would you want to see work together? Like, that isn't you, outside of you.
I'd say Ivy and Diamond.
Damn. That would be really interesting. Wait, have they done that yet? I feel like they have.
They might have. I'm not sure. I've been kind of out of the loop recently.
Yeah, me too. But I know Diamond's done stuff with NWO, but I don't know. I feel like there was, but I can't be sure. That would be really good though. If they haven't, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So, who do you think right now? I know you said you're a bit out of the loop. I understand, but well, I guess you said this earlier. Who do you think is the most underrated EAS creator right now? Who do you think deserves some more love?
I guess I said before, Diamond.
Yeah.
I think that's the main one. If I had to say another one, besides the others I already mentioned, NWO.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think they've made as much like long form content, but they're very good visually, and their shorter videos have been like, really good.
Yeah. All right. So, last question to kind of wrap it up, and then if there's anything you want to talk about, you can. What plans do you have, generally speaking, as a content creator for the future? And whether it's EAS related or otherwise. I guess if you have EAS plans, first go there, but otherwise, say what you want.
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of EAS, I intend to kind of move away from it, like from mainly being an EAS, and I think I've made that known. But obviously, with that recent video I just uploaded, I'm not completely done with it, like I'm still open to doing content like that, but now I kind of want to shift more towards like making shorts, just kind of more abstract
Yeah.
short films, because that's kind of always what I wanted to do. And what I have planned, which I'm going to keep very vague because I kind of want to keep it a surprise, but I've already kind of announced it. Stuff like Mesa City, like
Right.
it sort of fits into the analog horror genre, but it also kind of doesn't. So I'm hoping, like, in terms of, like, and I'll, of course, like, advertise it as analog horror, because there are definitely
Yeah, right.
still elements in it. I'm hoping, like, it can bring something new to the table, or just something different that people will take in, appreciate. That's my plan, my long-term plan. It's very vague, and I kind of have to map it out a little.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I understand. I kind of, like, once the new year came around, I basically, like, reformed my whole, like, future vision for the channel, and not, like, I would recommend looking into something like that if you're unsure, like, really sitting down and being like, okay, like, what do I truly want to do? Write down a couple ideas for projects that you want to do, and just start chugging on through them. Like, that's what I've been doing.
I've been working on a longer video that's sort of like,
Ooh.
I guess, the start of all of this. I have it sort of mapped out, and I've started working on it bit by bit. It involves a lot of CGI, which is very tedious, as I've learned in the past year. But yeah, once I get really going on that, it's going to be very fun to make.
Yeah. All right. Is there
All right.
anything you wanted to talk about or say?
You know, not that I can think of right now. But yeah, it's been great doing this interview.
Course. Yep. I hope you enjoy the rest of your vacation, and I can't wait to see what you do next on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having me on here, Ace.
Of course. I'll see you later, all right?
See you, bud.
Yep, see ya.